good morning, and thank you very much for joining us this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. There's a lot been going on over the weekend. It never stops in this country. Thank God for that. It's a very, very dynamic place. Now, the security challenges that we've been facing all this while, I guess the whole campaign took another dimension when on Friday, a federal high court in Abuja did grant the federal government. It was an ex-parte application that the federal government has made, and so the court did indeed declare IMN, Islamic Movement in Nigeria. Sometimes you read of it as Islamic Movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiites, have now been proscribed. So officially, the group is now seen as a terrorist group. Well, certainly a lot of the actions that have happened in the past and that the group has been fingered for, have been in that sort of ilk. But the government seemed to be wanting to proceed on with a slowly sort of softly sort of approach. But now, I guess the gloves are coming off. We'll look at the implication of this and how it will help the fight against terrorists and insurgency and criminality, which is exactly what the federal government has said it was reacting to, the criminality and not the religion. Well, my guest is Yemi Makpaderon. Mr. Makpaderon is a strategy and governance expert. Thank you very much for coming on.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Indeed. So the government was careful, I saw, subsequent to the declaration, that this had nothing whatsoever to do with their religion. They could go on the main tenets of Islam, go through their 5 daily prayers, go on pilgrimage to Mecca, just continue being a Muslim. That's not a problem. The problem is criminal acts of wanton killing. It's a significant clarification, isn't it?
Oh yes, it is, especially against the backdrop of the different kinds of comments that have been coming out since the announced, proscription of IMN. In actual fact, I have not really seen a definitive statement by the presidency proscribing IMN, but I understand that the Inspector General for Police has decided to act on the ruling of an Abuja High Court on Friday, which asked, in fact, ordered the federal government to outlaw the Islamic movement in Nigeria due to the fact that the group had metamorphosed into a terrorist organization. And that is significant.
It is. When you say the court directed, this was on the FG's application to the court.
Yes, there was an application by the Solicitor General. Don't forget, we don't have an Attorney General as at yet, but the law permits that in the absence of the Attorney General, the Solicitor General of the Federation can step up to the plate. And that's why Mr. Adaya Akpata filed that motion, obviously on the instruction, of the executive. Now, there have been a lot of musings, since this happened. There are those who felt it was late in coming, and there are those who also felt that it is against the fundamental human right of free association and freedom of religion. That is the point that the statement by Mr. Garba Shehu, who is the spokesman of the president, tried to clarify. That the proscription order has to do with the activism side of the IMN. Being activist in its sense is not illegal, but the rioters and the violent manner in which the processions have taken. We must not forget that in 2016, the government of Kaduna State, under Governor Nasir El-Rufai, already secured, an order and indeed proscribed the IMN. And since the proscription of IMN in Kaduna in 2016, we've really not heard of those disturbing processions by the group, in Zaria and environs. In actual fact, if you ask the average person in Kaduna today, they will tell you it's actually good riddance, to bad rubbish. So the movement seems to have moved its theater, of operation to the Federal Capital Territory, which is even more embarrassing. You recall that a few weeks ago, they actually broke through the gate of the National Assembly.
Yeah.
And I mean, police had to repel them. Otherwise, they were actually aiming to, to gain access into the hallowed chambers of the. So no group has, historically, on paper, in history, has, gone that far.
And there's a bit of, shall we say, apprehension in certain circles, perhaps in Kaduna, because today they will actually be pronouncing a high court. There's going to be pronouncing on the bail application of El Zakzaki, which, as you know, this has been an ongoing kind of a campaign to get him released on bail. And it's interesting on this point, the sentiment. First of all, President Buhari said this about something like a year ago, and then the former Attorney General, in part of his screening, has said that, well, the rule of law is one thing, but national interest is another. And when the two seem to clash, then national interest is going to take a priority. There will be lawyers who say, now, this is a topic that we can't do in 10 seconds. That was going to take us a lot of time. But shall we, let's just take a break so that you can address this. And we're going to bring a lawyer on board. We'll look at it from a strategic point of view. We'll look at it from, from also a legal point of view. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. And Yemi Makwadurun has been joined by Libros Oshoma. Mr. Oshoma is a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Great to have you, Libros.
A pleasure.
And so Yemi and I were, we started on the federal government now having, from my point of view, now they bit the bullet, and I've said that IMN, Islamic Movement in Nigeria, is a terrorist organization. Interesting that the Guardian this morning, the Nigerian Guardian this morning is, featuring a front page picture of supporters of IMN in the UK. They're what? Well, members of Islamic Human Rights Commission. So they are in front of our embassy. They were in front of our embassy yesterday. But since government prescribed them, since the court, they got this ruling from the court saying, indeed, it's in order, go ahead. And they have now been prescribed. The lawyer of IMN, Falana SAN, has said that it's unconstitutional. Now, it has been said in recent times again by the former Attorney General that where rule of law and national interest, national security seem to conflict, then national security, not to mention integrity, will take the upper hand. As a lawyer, how do you see this? Because I'm sure you understand also about national security, but you also understand about rule of law.
You see, the problem here, the conflict here is that, I agree, where there's a conflict between rule of law and national security naturally should take preeminence. But who makes that pronouncement? That's where the problem is. Is it the Attorney General that should make the pronouncement, or the courts that should make the pronouncement to say, look, on the basis of what I have before me, I think, if you remember Asari Dokubo's case, where the Supreme Court made that pronouncement, the matter was before the court. And the court said, look, on the basis of after evaluating the evidence before us on the records of appeal, that we think that there is a threat to national security if this man is allowed to go on bail. But here, it's not enough for that court, after evaluating that same evidence that you have presented before him, to now say, well, we don't see threats to national security here, allow him go on bail, and then you say, oh, no, I see it. I see threat to national security, so I won't allow him. So that's where the conflict is really. And so once that happens, what you are gradually encouraging is, in a state of lawlessness, it is illegal to be law-abiding. And so I see national security, even though the courts and some other persons are not seeing it. And so the people would also want to take laws into their hand to say, well, the court of the land had made a pronouncement. And since you have refused to obey the court of the land, we also will not obey your instruction. And also that's where, even though the actions of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria is condemnable, highly condemnable, but I also think that there should be a meeting point.
Okay.
Yes, the court has granted an order ex parte, which is the procedure.
One moment, please, and you will continue. Sorry to interrupt you, but just to say that, as I said at the top, we'll be crossing over to Abuja when the screening of ministers begins. And right now, Fashola is, it looks like he's about to be screened. So we'll go over to Abuja, but we will continue with our program. And if you want, please continue to call in, as happened on Friday, when the full broadcast of the program, when the repeat broadcast, I beg your pardon, of the program goes out at midnight today. It'll be the entirety of the program, including that which you cannot see now because we have to cut to Abuja.
And so that's where I also feel the statement of Femi Falana and ACN to the fact that now the procedure is the government will have to apply via an ex parte order, which the government had done.
Which it has done.
Yes, they followed the position.
An ex parte order for non-lawyer types is that the other side was not there.
Yeah, the other side won't be there.
Okay.
But typical of applications such as this, after the ex parte order had been granted, it is also ideal, especially, considering the times we are in, to also put the other party on notice as to why that order to prescribe this association should not be extended. And so once you give them room to, like we say in law, the other party, you must hear the other side. You give them room to also argue their case. Then government will be able to be seen not to be biased.
Okay. But government will be. I know this is a delicate thing because the way you are going about it, it's according to the rules. Indeed, dare I say, rule of law.
Yeah.
But IMN has not been following any of the rules of an ordered society. They've been calling it the way they see it, and they say ultimately what we want is an Islamic nation, an Islamic state in Nigeria. That is ultimately. In the meantime, they don't obey civil procedures, regulations. When they waylaid the chief of army staff, when they went to the National Assembly. In short, they do things in their own riotous ways. So encouraged by a lawful nature of government and government agencies also. So you're going to blame government for this? You think that
both parties share blame? Both parties share blame in this. If a man steals, the man has acted unlawfully, not in obedience to the rule, but also the rule prescribes how that person should be dealt with. You also follow the rule in dealing with him. But by the time you put aside the rule and say, well, since you have acted or traversed the rule, I also will deal with you or traverse the rule, what you create is an anarchy. That's what I'm basically saying.
Even though you're a lawyer, and I wonder if you can see as a Nigerian, and you can be honest with me, if you can see as a Nigerian that the this IMN has wreaked so much havoc on the nation that perhaps non-legal minds won't understand the finer points of what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree with you, but like I said, there are procedures laid down in our legal statutes for dealing with people like this. But by the time you put aside those procedures, you also whip up sentiment for that organization
for any group
that you want to deal with.
Just looking at the latest outing, for any sort of group to come out and in the course of just a day in the life of that group, kill a senior police officer, kill a young journalist, and put many, many others at risk.
It's not been established that they were the ones that killed the police officer and killed the journalist.
Okay,
Because remember, it
because
was a conflict
they talk
between...
about crossfire. You know, people are being extra careful and saying
that's
that
why also
possibly crossfire.
The state also needs to investigate that angle. What led to the deaths of these persons? To just allege that, oh, these people possibly did it, we'll never get to the answer. And so also, if you remember, after that confrontation with the chief of army staff, the next day, the army invaded their camps and killed more than 300 of their members. That is also using an illegal means to achieve an aim. And so you have emboldened them. Anybody that is sympathetic to this demonstration is like, okay, God had granted this man bail. Why have you refused to grant him bail? You know, that's the only legal position they are holding on to. So if the government had dealt with it systematically using the same rule of law, nobody would have had any problem, including Femi Falana.
Yemi, the rule of law, and yeah, what is a society if it doesn't have rules to guide it, generally agreed rules? Everybody can't be doing what they want. But there's a problem here. First of all, I wonder what your opinion is, and I've heard from, you know, our learned friend here. Not that I'm suggesting that when I say our learned friend that I'm a lawyer. He's just my friend and he's learned.
He's the learned guest here.
Our learned guest. We've heard from him what the parameters of the law say about this matter. But there are those who would say that the government has been long-suffering and reticent in this matter. In fact, people have wondered if this government was really in charge, why were they allowing a little group, after all said and done, be running rings around the security apparatus of Nigeria. Government would not respond, would not rise to the bait. But now they have responded.
Yeah. Well, let me first and foremost state that I totally agree with the position of, you know, the boroughs as regards the place of the law and the need to abide, you know, by the law. But I dare say, and with due respect, you know, to lawyers, I have one in the house, that if society is left just for lawyers, it will be plenty of motion without movement.
Without any movement whatsoever.
Because for every issue, you have lawyers on all the sides.
Contending sides.
So as important as they are. Now, coming back to the issue of the rule of law, I think the characterization of government by itself, or what it meant, was also wrong. What I thought should have been said was not that, you know, the rule of law can be bypassed for national security, but that individual right is inferior to the collective good. I think that is more of it, because protecting the national security of a country is something that the law itself, you know, imposes on a government.
Exactly.
So it is not against the law.
It's the sole purpose of government.
It is not against the law for government to want to protect national security.
Yes.
What they should have said, and that is, I mean, the challenge with even those who speak for government, is the fact that you are not rubbishing the rule of law. You are only saying that that aspect of the rule of law that guarantees individual right is curtailed by the right of others, especially the collective good.
Indeed.
And so that is the position of the law.
That is the point, exactly.
One moment, please. You will continue.
Through a process.
I hear you. Let me come back to you. I got to bring in Mr. George, who called in from Ikeja. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the House.
Indeed. Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, I don't know whether Mr. Oshoma is a lawyer to IMN. I cannot understand where he is coming from. Is he saying that a violent group like IMN, if the government wants to proscribe it with all the evidence in place, they should invite the group to a court as litigants with the government before the court can make a pronouncement of the proscription?
Yes.
I don't know where that is done. A violent group is a violent group. What I don't even understand about this court proscription, Uncle Yori, is that it seems to have proscribed, but not prescribed. How do you say you proscribe a group, but you did not proscribe their activities. It is the activities of the group that made the government to proscribe the group. They will still believe that they are allowed to do what they believe in if you say only some parts of their activities are proscribed. I read about the reaction of the group through their spokesperson yesterday.
Yes.
He was saying that this proscription is a joke, that they are not going to obey it. Is that the type of group that Mr. Liberals want the government to bring to court and be arguing litigation before they are proscribed?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's not the right thing to do. The government should make it total. If you are a Muslim, go to any mosque and worship and do what but the group itself, once it is proscribed, whatever the group stands for should also be proscribed. Was that not what was done to IPOP? IPOP, we are going along the streets, preventing people from going out and all that. When it was proscribed, they ceased to have the right to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know where Mr. Oshoma got the information that 300 and something people were killed in IMN.
It's a notorious fact.
There
are documents before the court.
What happened there?
There are documents before the court. Go and read them.
They went to arrest their leader for what they were doing to the military, and they were the first to attack the army. You want to kill soldiers and allow soldiers that were trained to kill to be waiting? I don't understand his own point of view.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Good morning.
I think we need to situate this.
Yes.
Now, and that is how society moves. I mean, I respect the views canvassed by Mr. Oshoma, but one is only
and I
saying...
think those are the same views canvassed by Falano.
Well, not exactly.
Not exactly.
Yes.
Not exactly.
Because Falano is a party to the matter.
Okay.
So obviously he has to say things to defend his clients. But what I'm saying is this. At a higher level, you talk about governance. Governance does not just have to be good. It has to be strong. Look, law and order is important in every society. And that is also what the law is trying to promote. But it is there is no problem with the laws. It's actually the way what we read into the laws that creates the problem. Now, if the government, if the presidency didn't issue, an executive order, so to speak, to say we are proscribing, it meant that there is a sense in which they wanted to fulfill the requirement of the law by asking for the ex parte motion. But like Mr. Oshoma also said, the other group has the opportunity to also approach the court to say, look, that ex parte order has to be vacated due to this and this and this, which they are free to do. And nobody is saying don't do that. But the fact of the matter is that many of us, right, are proponents of strong governance. I'm not talking of dictatorial maximum rulership.
Yeah.
Don't forget the situation that Libya is in today. Some of us who saw Muammar Gaddafi as a maximum ruler and were indeed afraid that he was about to even take over the entire Africa. He had the ambition of becoming president of Africa. That's why he was pushing the African Union. Some of us are having a second thought that perhaps the guy should have been allowed to die as president of Libya, and somebody else will emerge, and maybe things can change, incrementally. Today, Libya is nowhere.
Yeah.
So yes, it is fashionable to want to pander to, especially when it sounds populist. But I believe that we must get to a level where we understand that leaders have a function of taking very difficult and hard decisions that the ordinary will not even have taken if they had to just follow their, their emotion.
Okay, then.
But for the good of the society, there must be law and order. And nobody, no group. I mean, some people have been crying for proscription of Miyetti Allah. Miyetti Allah is even a legal organization. It's an economic organization in Nigeria. Why would the same people who are saying proscribe Miyetti Allah for mere pronouncement say, why proscribe IMN? That has wreaked havoc on this country.
Okay. Femi Inisolo, I want to apologize for keeping you waiting. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Morning. I want to contribute to the discussion.
Sure.
The issue is this. I have seen in this country a situation in which the newspapers are encouraging a lot of things that is wrong. In the sense that they are the one clamoring always, propagating what these people are doing in order for them to continue. That is wrong. Secondly, the lawyers that are talking, none of them has ever mentioned that the order that was given by the court for the release of this man was appealed against by the government.
No, it's not.
If an order of the court is appealed against, and you continue to say they have already ordered that he should be released, they have already, which is what is encouraging these people. And they have lawyers. It seems that some of these things, a lot of people that are talking about the publishers that are publishing the things, they have never mentioned that the federal government appealed against this order.
No,
and it is true that it was appealed against. If an appeal is done against an order of the court, and then there is a fear of execution, what do you expect?
All right.
You continue to say the man has been released. The man has been released.
Okay, Femi, I got to interrupt you now. I want to thank you very much, Femi, for contributing. Appreciate your call. Now we'll go on a break, and in the break we will cross over to Abuja, as I had said earlier. But please keep your calls coming, because the entirety of the program will be recorded, and when the repeat broadcast goes out at 12 midnight, it'll be the full program, not this half. But we've got to cross over to, see the screening of the minister. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back, and I'm delighted that we're still live here. Actually, we don't mind. We will be live in Abuja and also live in Lagos. So I was telling you that we cut across to Abuja, but it looks like we still have a few more minutes, because they're sorting themselves out in Abuja. Yemi Makwadero is in the house. Libros Oshoma is in the house. And I want to thank Lekon in Calabar for holding on. Good morning, Lekon.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Indeed, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Good morning to the guests in the house. Yeah.
Sure. Good morning.
I just want to make a short contribution concerning this issue. There is a case currently in Kaduna. It's between Kaduna government and Air Zakazi.
Yes.
It has got nothing to do with the federal government, and he has been charged for murder. So that is the case that's currently in the court.
That's the case that they will decide on the bail of today in Kaduna.
Yes, the bail will be decided today. So yes. The issue of he has been granted bail by the court, and the federal government is not. It's creating I think it's more like misinformation. So I need to correct that here. So the lawyer in the house should correct that notion that he has been granted bail and the federal government is refusing to release him.
Okay. Thank you very much. Although there have been instances,
what led to all of this? Let me make clarifications. What led to all of this? If you listen to El-Rufai also, after he was granted bail, even the Kaduna state government said they were waiting to charge him. Not that they took timely step. So that was why people started asking for his release. The institution of that case just started recently, and that is why once a criminal matter is brought before the court, the first application that is taken most times is the bail application, because his defense lawyer will apply for bail. And that the matter just started not too long ago, even after all the protests have been going on. That's why I said law regulates society. You can use law, the instrumentality of the law, to deal with any issue. But be seen, that's why they said, let justice be done, if even the heavens will fall. But when you take steps that seems not to be, passing through the rule of law, people are going to read bias, they are going to read sentiment into it. I gave you an instance with Asari Dokubo's case. It wasn't the government that said, no, you are a threat to national security. It was the courts. The court said,
So you're
look,
saying that's a marked difference.
difference. And for that,
case and
nobody
here.
could blame the government because the court said you are a threat to national security and we can't let you
But
go.
isn't speaking
But
as a
in this case-
speaking as a non-lawyer, can't one see the activities of IMN as a threat to security?
That is for you and I. It is a threat to security. It is. But what the government should have done timely should be the moment this man is arrested, there's an offense in Kaduna, there's an offense in Abuja, you charge the one in Abuja, which is not too grievous. And the court granted, but he said, no, we have another one in Kaduna. So, please, the man is facing trial. The very next day, let him be charged in Kaduna. And so when you do that, the court says, okay, from what with the proof of evidence, it will be difficult to, which was some of the things that Kiamu was talking about during his screening. That from the proof of evidence we have here, this man, we can't let him go. But not when there is no proof of evidence. The court now says, well, from what I have here, you are alleging threat to national security, but there is no document before me to establish that.
Yeah.
And so, once there is no document before me to establish that, I grant bail. And then you now say, no. I know from what I know. And that's why I'm saying that law can be used.
Okay. Yeah,
the instrument of the law can be used to regulate all of this and avoid all of this unnecessary debt and what have you.
And indeed, I actually believe that is what the federal government has done. You see, the bail application for today that's going to be decided today is actually on health grounds for him to go for treatment. He had been denied bail by the Kaduna High Court when the case began. So apparently that already nullifies, in my layman's view, the earlier bail that was granted. But again, every side to this matter will see it as they are working using the instrumentality of the law. Even if you ask government today, I mean, they have senior lawyers,
yes.
They will tell you this is our own reading of the situation. So at the end of the day, decisions still need to be taken by the political leaders. And that decision, right, must be in the overall best interest of Nigeria. Let me paint a scenario.
One moment, sir, and I'll come back to you straight so you can continue. I remember you wanted to paint us a scenario to illustrate your point. That's because I don't want to lose Mazi Okoroafo in Arochukwu. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Libros. Good morning, Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure. Honestly, sir, government should listen to the opinion leaders and the masses. The interpretation of the law is very, very important. It's paramount important, like Mr. Libros have been saying. Because, let me give you an example. Let's take Trump today. Trump of the United States of America, we know he's the #1 strongest man in the whole world. Now, when Trump banned 5 African countries that they are terrorists, what happened? People went to court. Even the same with Trump now. Trump went to appeal court. Trump went to Supreme. What did Trump has to do what? To relax because he followed what the court said. Now, you ask yourself, Nigeria is a developing country, but to me, Nigeria shouldn't be talking about as one of the advanced countries within the African continent. But up to today, we are still developing. Now, under this development, how do you expect an investor to come and invest? Because why am I making about going to economic aspect of? Because when you come to environment, you yourself as a human being, if you are traveling, let's say for example now, I'm moving from Aruchukwu to Abuja maybe to see my brother or to see my son. Now, I'll be afraid. Why must I be afraid in my own country? Because I'm not sure what is happening on the road there. That is the issue. Now another person coming out from another angle, now coming down to Abuja, you'll be afraid. Is that how we are going to stay in a country like ours? Where are we going to? Are we going to Libya or Sudan? Or is it Algeria that we are going, or Egypt? It's not possible. So what we should do now, the authority concerned or Nigeria, the opinion leaders, the party that they should come under this government. Let us find the lasting solution to this because Nigeria is our country, no other place to go. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you, Mazi. Yeah,
everyone has an opinion on this matter. So possibly 2 million opinions if aggregated.
Yes.
So, but a decision still has to be taken. If you don't take mine, government is wrong. If you take mine, government is right. Now, imagine for one moment that Shekau and the other commanders of Boko Haram are apprehended today, and they approach a court, and they validly get, a bail ruling. Are we going to clap that
the rule of law
that the rule of law
champion?
No.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. No. I know what, because
not even go there.
Because you know what
Let's not go there.
something Keyamo said that I really love, that he will want for constitutional matters a 21-man Supreme Court.
That's different from the issue of
no.
proof of evidence.
No. See, if a high court, for instance, says release Shekau, naturally, government will appeal that decision, but they will release Shekau and say, "Let me appeal." So we need to be now. The people who are affected by what is happening, right, are not going to be saying what we are saying here.
No, otherwise you'll be creating dictators. No,
look, why not?
It doesn't work that way.
Is it between?
It doesn't work.
Excuse me.
You'll be creating dictators.
No.
One moment, gentlemen. I hear what you're
In
saying.
the bid of not creating dictators, you are creating a society.
Shekau today,
Yes.
There's what we call proof of evidence. You ensure that all the proof of evidence, offenses, and otherwise, police can pick you up tomorrow and say for national security.
Okay,
if you arrest Shekau today,
let me
bring
hear
the proof before the court, and no reasonable court will grant him bail.
Guys, one moment, sir. I'm going to come back to studio. But Chooks in Enugu, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to your guests.
Sure.
You see, let me be very fast to drop my points. You see, in this country, it's like we like to repeat things the same way and expect different results. How do I mean by that? In 2013, former President Goodluck Jonathan proscribed Boko Haram. Where are we today? 10 years after, Boko Haram is still killing people. What are we even doing in this country? You see that something is not working. Look at Lebros is hitting the point, and we are just trying to play sentiment. Look, in a sane environment, the Senate is supposed to reject that man called Malami. How can you say that you will check the one that has a public interest and decide the one you will obey over the one that has personal interest? Where are we doing that? Look, if we want to use the rule of law, let's use it. If we don't want to use it, let's do away with it and return to military. If we are saying that this country shall be governed with the rule of law, look, for me, what I expected, immediately you saw that El Zakzaki is causing nuisance, as you said. You go and get senior advocates that will help you to appeal the judgment and show the court, look at the reason why we will not release this man. So many of us today that are having soft spot for this man, we don't know what he has been doing. But because of this fact that they have said the court granted him bail and you refuse, that is why some people are supporting him.
Okay, thank you very much, Chooks. I appreciate you, Chooks. One moment, guys. Let me just, as it were, sign over to Abuja, as we've been saying. We're going to sign over to Abuja now, where you see live the screening of the ministerial nominees. But keep the calls coming, please, because as I've been saying, the program will continue here in Lagos, and when the repeat broadcast goes out at midnight today, later on, it'll be the entire program. So that having said, over to Abuja.
So, like I was saying, the essence of
law. You heard Chooks,
yes,
argument.
The essence of law.
And Chooks seems to be saying that.
Nobody likes insecurity. Everybody, even those that are saying don't proscribe, condemn the violent nature of this group. But so as not to leave legal loopholes, what do? You don't say, I have read through, and so because of that, I have some document that I cannot show. What's the essence of having a court? The essence of having a court is that because you can't be wrong, the other person can be wrong. So let's have an independent body look into argument and then take a decision.
I hear you. I hear you,
so
sir.
that's why. Wait, let me finish. And
because I wanted to complicate it a bit more. There is an external power involved in this whole matter. Again, let me, because the lawyer is here, say allegedly.
Yes.
And
we know the external power.
It is Iran.
Yes.
And now they're protesting at our embassy in the UK. What impression are you putting out there?
What you have is not just Iran. You have Iran and Saudi Arabia. Let's be clear about it. And so we are allowing, we are creating loopholes and allowing these fights. We are allowing
when you said we have Saudi Arabia, I didn't understand you.
Yes,
Saudi
because
Arabia is not.
if you take this beyond this is a fight between
supremacy between Shiites and Sunnis.
And this is a further complication of this.
Yes,
but I think
you.
religion is further complicating this.
the issue.
Can I come back to studio so that you can explore this some more? Because I have a call from Kaduna. Austin in Kaduna, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, thank you for calling in. Quickly, please.
I really want to appreciate Mr. Oshoma for what he's saying. Many will not try to understand that because they are not facing the situation we're actually facing in North. Yes, the state government is charging him, and they are going to be deliberating about his bail today. As we speak right now, everything in Kaduna State is actually on a verge of shutting down because people are afraid, not knowing the fear of the unknown, what will happen. If actually they want to go through the rule of law, just as Mr. Oshoma said, let them go on it and release the man so that the tension can be down. Maybe thereafter they can take him up again. But as we speak right now, the fear of the people in this state right now is that if that man is not granted bail today, the whole state is going to be on fire. Many of us did not go to town today for work because of the situation. So if the government have anything against him, talking about murdering, just as Mr. Oshoma said, and confirmed that the attack between the soldier and them in their own resident place, many life was lost. And even the state government was the one that confirmed that over 140-something people, Shiites, were killed. But how long are we going to be losing citizens that way?
Okay.
They are Nigerians.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So let me quickly end this point. So let me quickly end this point. Even the July 7 bomber in London, the underwear bomber in America, all of them were taken through a legal process. Our own. Yes.
Let it be said, they were taken now we get that underwear bomber.
They were taken through a legal process.
Yes.
The government didn't just sit down and say because of the what they did.
No, I think this assumption is wrong. That government seems to be doing everything against the law.
We're talking about rule of law and national security. I say you can achieve both. You can achieve both using the same rule of law. All you need to do, that is why we say the court is not a Father Christmas. The court does not give what you didn't ask for. And so, not being a Father Christmas, when you come, the issue I referred to, that Festus talked about was, that is why don't withdraw these powers from magistrates, the powers to remand without proof of evidence. And so when your proof of evidence is not there,
yes,
the court will have no other option. They are not spirits.
Well, you must agree, Liberals, that the federal government has available to it the highest level of legal, opinions and all of this, and all of that is there. I'm sure you will.
Let's not assume. It depends on who the people in charge are listening to. You can have fantastic, brilliant opinion. We've seen government.
The highest level of
we've seen government have fantastic legal opinion and then push it aside and say, look, you know what? I'm going to do it as I want to do it. We've seen it. We've seen government officials also come out to say, we advise the government, but they refuse to listen to us.
Because I think personally,
so then let's not assume.
I think individually that religion is actually complicating this whole thing up.
Yes, it is.
Let's come back.
That's why government
I'm going to come back
careful.
But I've got to take, I have in where is it? Junaid in Oshogbo, Osun State. Good morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for giving the privilege to be on here this morning once again. I'm much interested in this topic as it is. But the fact we need to understand is this. As the legal figures has already put it down, that as it is, I keep wondering where we put issues like this with sentiment. That's what I look at. Because when you look at it, I would like to ask a question. If from the south or the southeast also like Okoro for calling for Arochukwu and just ask this. If I think they have their own enclave that they are fighting for, the IPOD, this Biafran nation of a thing. Imagine if something of such comes up, trying to go against the state's will. How would they take it with this kind of situation? And there is a question being raised by the strategist, the other...
Mr. Makwadiro,
Yes. That, take a look at, I think we apprehending today, Shekerau. What would be the stand as it is? Because we are looking at it from different side of view. And I don't see it like that. I think this thing has taken up the way it has been. It wouldn't have been to the level of Boko Haram today. And thirdly, again, is this. Why is it that those who are clamoring that are accusing the government, in most especially the presidency, that is trying to Islamize the country? Some weeks, some months back, there are still some associations, some figures trying to say that, okay, they're trying to Islamize the country. And at the end of the day, they are the one we see supporting a figure that is trying to take the Islamization to their peak, as in achieving it to their peak. I don't know. There is a conflict here. Conflict of interest was
that's the politics side of it. And I don't also go into
so we need to look at it more from that side and start looking at, the lawyers, as he said, you keep moving motion without movement.
Okay,
and I have a lot of it around.
Junai, thank you very much for calling in.
Appreciate your call. Let me just say this, and it's for a fact. The United States of America is a bastion of democracy in the world. Today, we have hundreds of detainees who have been detained for years without trial on the soil of the United States on just one account, national security. And the issue of even immigrants, on a daily basis, even people with green cards in America are detained at entry points in America.
And America...
They are detained,
let me say
indefinitely, without access to lawyers.
Let me make this controversial statement. And
you can dispute it.
Let me make this controversial statement. America is not yet as bad as what's going on in Europe vis-a-vis immigrants, the Islamic immigrants going into Europe and, quote-unquote, taking over. Is it France? Is it Germany? Is it
Belgium?
Is it Switzerland? Maybe even Belgium, where these people are now saying, look, we want our own enclave within this whole society. I don't know. This is a topic that we can only scratch the surface.
We must, honestly, on a final note, I want us to dispel the notion that the moment government does something that is against the interests of certain people, then it is unlawful or against the rule of law. No, because the government also has laws. The law they
have a responsibility to the rest of us that are victims.
The court in Kaduna has repeatedly refused to grant El Zazaki bail.
The essence of law.
Do you have 2 El Zazakis?
Yes,
very briefly.
Very briefly. The essence of
like in
law,
10 seconds.
The essence of law is for interpretation and to be obeyed.
Yeah.
And so when you leave the law, and that is why even the area you went to, that Keamu is talking about, the 23-man panel, because one man's interpretation can be subjective.
We completely
and so don't leave the law in the hand of one man called Attorney General.
Okay.
Let the court interpret the law. Simple.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I want to thank both of you, Mr. Yemi Makwadiro and Mr. Libros Oshoma, helping us air this because there are a number of sides to it. But I think there's a sense in which religion is complicating it, and we can't open up this whole conversation all over again. Federal government has said that it has nothing to do with religion. If they're Muslims, it continues to be Muslims, and that's the way it is. But it's that the criminality of it will no longer be tolerated. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow. And before then, at 12 midnight, for the complete version of this program, we had to truncate it a bit because we had to go over to Abuja to take live the screening of the ministers. But I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. I'm Yori Falarin. Bye-bye for now.